S.S.S. Behaaloscha, Tov Shin Pei Gimel. Actually, it's just S.S.S. Behaaloscha here in the Chutz La'aretz. In Eretz Yisrael, they're laning Parshas Shalach this week already. So the people in Eretz Yisrael that listen to the shir will get to review their last week's Parsha once again. And this week's Parsha really is full of so many different things that we could talk about. Very, very exciting, very, very involved Parsha. So we have a choice. Do we want to speak about the lighting of the menorah? Do we want to speak about the way Klal Yisrael traveled in the Midbar? What kind of groups they traveled in? Do we want to speak about the different food that Klal Yisrael was complaining they wanted to eat in the Midbar? Do we speak about the Shivim Zakenim that were assigned to help Moshe Rabbeinu? Or do we speak about the end of the Parsha where we learned so many lessons from what happened to Miriam when she spoke about Moshe Rabbeinu and she was stricken with tzaras, and Klal Yisrael waited for her for 7 days. For Miriam Hanaviah, unbelievable thing, how much we could learn about Lashon Hara and the effects of it and what happens. So being that we had so many of those choices, and we've spoken about so many of them over the past few years, so we decided we're going to speak about none of those things tonight. And we're going to go on to a point, something that's sort of in the middle of the Parsha, a very interesting thing. And one of the inyanim in this week's Parsha is the Parsha of Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin. Everybody's familiar with those psukim. We mention it, we say it when we take a Sefer Torah out of the Aron Kodesh. Everybody knows these psukim. And another thing we know about these psukim is that the Parsha, those two psukim of Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin, are in the Torah as a separate Parsha. We have an upside down nun, right, on either side. And the Gemara, Masechta Shabbos, Daf Kuf Tes Zayin, Amud Aleph tells us that this short Parsha of Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin is considered a sefer in the Torah on its own. Like we have Sefer Bereshis, we have Sefer Shemois, Vayikra, right? So this Parsha of Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin is separated from the rest of the Torah. And the Torah now is really, we all think it's divided into 5 parts. Bereshis, Shemois, Vayikra, Vamidbar, Devarim. Says the Gemara, no, there are 7 different parshios that the Torah is divided into 7 parts. And there's the before Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin and the after, and Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin itself. These 2 psukim are a sefer on its own. So Nesivos Shalom asks about this. What is the purpose of having these 2 psukim of Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin? What is the purpose of having this on its own? Nothing in the Torah is for no reason. And if these 2 psukim specifically are considered an entire sefer in the Torah, what's it all about? What's going on over here? What is so special about Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin? We all know that the Torah is given to us to teach us what? To teach us the mitzvahs Hashem. We learn the commandments of Hashem out of what's written in the Torah. And in each one of the chumashim of the Torah, we have certain specific mitzvahs and lessons. There are mitzvahs that are unique to each one, to each sefer in the Torah. And if this these psukim by Ibn Saya Ha'arain are considered a sefer and a part of the Torah. What exactly do we learn from Vayibin Saya Ha'arain? They don't seem to have any mitzvahs at all. So if the Gemara is saying that Vayibin Saya Ha'arain is a special seder, a special part of the Torah on its own, what are we learning from that? So Nesivos Shalom answers that we need to understand that there are really two different types of mitzvahs in the Torah. Everybody can put on your thinking caps a little bit, make believe you're back in Shir, and there's two different types of mitzvahs. There's one type of mitzvah in the Torah that's a mitzvah b'poyel, a mitzvah that requires an action to perform, and that consists of most of the mitzvahs that you know. In order to be Mekayim a mitzvah, you want to be Mekayim mitzvah's tefillin, you have to put on tefillin. You want to be Mekayim the mitzvah of lulav esrog arba minim, you have to pick it up, and you have to do something. Most mitzvahs in the Torah are that. But there is another type of mitzvah also in the Torah. And that type of mitzvah in the Torah is the musar and how to live our lives correctly. How to live a life in a way that we will be able to be mekayim the mitzvahs. How are you supposed to live? How do you go about your life? That is another type of mitzvah in the Torah. And that is really the purpose and the lesson, says in Nesivos Shalom, of these two psukim of Vayibin Saya Ha'arain. The Koshim Tzemagid, Zchus Yogan Aleinu, in his Sefer Avodas Yisrael, tells us about this pasuk of Vayibin Saya Ha'arain, and he says that the Arain represents a Talmud Chacham. Why does the Arain represent the Talmud Chacham? Because Talmud Chacham has the Torah inside him, and he's like an Arain. He's like the Aron HaKodesh that has the Luchos, he has the Aseres HaDibros. A Talmud Chacham has the Torah inside him. The Torah and the Taryag mitzvahs are inside the Talmud Chacham, and in that way, it is like the Arain of Vayibin Saya Ha'arain. And says the Nesivos Shalom from the Koshim Tzemagid that in order to grow, in order for a person to grow, in order to go up in madregas, which is what we were born for. We were not born to stay still, to tread water, to walk on a treadmill. That's not the way a Yid lives. We have, every single day, we have an opportunity. HaKadosh Baruch Hu set up the world that we need to go and rise a madrega. We have to be better today than we were yesterday, and we have to be better tomorrow than we were today. And the way of doing that, says in the Nesivos Shalom, from the Kodesh Tzemagid, from the Avodas Yisrael, the way of doing that is from Nisyonos. Everybody goes through their things. There are things that they have to go through. There are things in their life that are unique just to them. And as you pass the Nisyonos, you grow from those and you go up one madrega to the other. And says in the Nesivos Shalom, the life of a Talmud Chacham, Talmidei Chachamim, Tzadikim, especially they are tested with more Nisyonos than everybody else. You think a Talmud Chacham, he sits in front of a Gemara, he gives a shir, he's being a Rebbe, he's doing things, he has an easy life. No. The greater you are, the more Nisyonos that are put in front of you to be able to grow. And the Medrash tells us that actually the word Nisoyon is from the Lashon of Nes. Nes is also the mast of a ship. It shows how tall it is and how great one can be. And when you pass an Nisoyon, that's how you grow. That's how you shine. That's how you become great. That's how you become tall. Like the word Nisoyon, the word Nes. And many times, we don't have, during a Nisoyon, when a person is going through a Nisoyon, we don't have our mind. Sometimes it's a lot of pressure, and it's very hard. And we don't have our mind when we're going through the Nisyonos. It's hard. Afterwards, you could grow from a Nisoyon. But while you're going through it, it's very difficult. So says the Nesivos Shalom that the Torah tells us these psukim of Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin. When we're going through an Isayan, when a Talmud Chacham or any person is going through an Isayan and you're standing there and you're ready and you're hoping to raise your level through the Nisayan, and it's very hard. It's hard when you're going through it. Many times you don't understand why you're going through it or what's going on. So Moshe Rabbeinu asked, Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin, when a Talmud Chacham or any other person is going through an Isayan, Moshe Rabbeinu asked, Kuma Hashem. He asked from HaKadosh Baruch Hu for now and future generations to hold us up and raise us up and help us out when we're going through the Nisayon, v'yafutzu ayavecha, v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha. That the koiches of the Yetzer Hara should not get a hold of us while we are struggling and while we're going through an Nisayon, and while there's a danger that we might give up and we might slip back. Moshe Rabbeinu in these psukim of Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin, when we're moving, when we're going along, Moshe Rabbeinu asked that Kuma Hashem should help and prop us up and give us the koyach to overcome the Nisayan and to grow from it. And every person really comes to this world to fulfill their purpose. And every single person, while trying to fulfill your purpose, you have trying times while you're working and attempting to reach that goal. It's not easy. It may look like to you that it's easy for someone else, but it's not easy for anybody. And when you are trying and when you're going through the Nisayan, Moshe Rabbeinu asked that we should have the koyach, that we should be able to stand up to our nisyonos. And then Moshe Rabbeinu said, once Moshe Rabbeinu asked that, then Moshe Rabbeinu said, Uvenuchai yoimar, Venuchai is a lashon of when we can finally rest. Once we pass and we get through the Nisayan, then Uvenuchai yoimar, Moshe Rabbeinu is asking that then we should be able to do the type of mitzvah of Asay Tov. That once we pass the Nisayan, we should be zoicha to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with Avas Hashem and Dveikus Hashem. That Hashem should rest His Shechina on us. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu should rest His Shechina on us, because that is the ultimate purpose of why we go through the Nisyonos and why we have to grow and how we have to grow. And that is really, we ask from the Gemara. The Gemara says, Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin is its own parsha. A parsha about what? There are no mitzvahs, like there's a few mitzvahs in Bereshis. In Shemois, there's more mitzvahs. Vayikra, there's tons of mitzvahs. Bamidbar, Devarim, mitzvahs galore. And Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin is a parsha of its own in the Torah with no mitzvahs. Zot the Nesivos Shalom, it's the greatest lesson in life. The greatest lesson to teach us that we're here to grow. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to see us grow. And He's ready to help us. So Moshe Rabbeinu is doing every one of us a favor when he said, Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin, when the Aron, a person who is full of mitzvahs and Torah, is like an Aron. Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu asked that so we should be able to be zoicha, to live on and to grow and to be able to do mitzvahs, that we should be able to get through those nisyonos. And that's why the parsha of Vayehi ben Soya ha'aroin is so important and is considered such a vital entire chumash, an entire part of the Torah. So really, let's learn that lesson this week and understand, like we said, that everybody has their challenges. Everybody has their thing. People are very, very forgiving of themselves. We know, we all look at ourselves and we say that we have it worse than everybody and nobody else has the challenges that I have. Everybody has challenges. Everyone has their unique things that they have to work on. But remember, you have the tefillah and the power of Moshe Rabbeinu behind you. Moshe Rabbeinu asked, Kuma Hashem, that's for all generations, that we should have the help from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to get through our nisyonos.